Tyus Jones. Tyus Jones is going to be the starting point guard for the Phoenix Suns this year on a minimum deal. Bryce, did it surprise you that Tyus Jones is accepting a minimum contract?
It's surprising me that that's what he's having to accept, or that's what he's accepting. Now, it seems like I don't want to say people misjudge the market or whatever. Gary Trent Jr. is another one with the Bucks where I didn't expect a minimum deal to probably go start in Milwaukee. I thought Tyus Jones would definitely get paid a little bit, maybe not as much as what I thought, but I didn't think he'd be settling, quote unquote, for a minimum deal. I like where he's ended up in terms of, hey, you're going to get a chance to go start on what could be a very good team. Now, how does it play out in the playoffs? Who doesn't get to start now? I think all of these are fascinating questions, but he gets a chance to hopefully go increase his value and hit the market next summer. But yeah, these are the stories that I would love to hear in terms of what was going to be there, what ended up not being there. Did he think he was going back to Washington, but then they got Bub in the draft and he looked good at Summer League? And was that why he didn't go? Did he not want to stay in Washington? I'd be fascinated to know why we ended up here, but the beneficiaries are the Phoenix Suns.
I think that is absolutely correct. This is a home run signing for Phoenix to me, because it's just so low risk, right? It's a 1-year minimum contract, and Tyus is going to help them in the regular season. Like, no questions asked. Tyus will be somebody that, yeah, the defense is an issue. I will be interested to see what he looks like in a more constructive defensive situation than what Washington was this year, where he was playing next to Jordan Poole all the time and they weren't really playing for anything. Tyus has been a part of solid defenses in the past, but it's worth noting that according to EPM's model, which again, to me is the best all-in-one metric currently on the market, he's been a negative defender for 4 of the last 5 years. The thing is that he's been a really good offensive player over the course of the last 3 years. Like, he has really taken a leap into being a fantastic distributor, scorer. He had the enormous assist to turnover ratio that I think people like slightly overrate occasionally when they start talking about that. He had like a 7-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. He's an unbelievable decision maker, but like, he doesn't always pressure teams by getting into the paint, right? He's this guy that makes incredible decisions. He makes very early processing reads and gets the ball moving, but not always a guy that's going to like pressure the basket. On one level, that's annoying for Phoenix, right? Because Phoenix isn't really a team that has a lot of like rim pressure necessarily, right? Bradley Beal is a settler in the mid-range, certainly. Devin Booker can have moments where he gets to the rim, but is more of a settler in the mid-range by and large, or from 3 from time to time. Kevin Durant obviously loves to be able to get into the mid-range and score. Tyus isn't going to help that part of it in terms of getting rim pressure, getting to the foul line, not a free throw drawer by any stretch of the imagination. But the thing that he will help them with is just making quick decisions and being able to get their guys open looks more often, right? Phoenix does by and large have the ability, because of their 3 stars, to get defenses into rotation. Tyus's ability to make quick decisions once defenses are into rotation and put the ball in pinpoint situations right where it needs to be, that's what makes him so valuable, in my opinion. That's why this will work on some level for Phoenix, at the very least, as long as he stays healthy. How much it'll be a value add in the playoffs, like, maybe we can talk about that, but I do think he will help them substantially as they go through the regular season and just need another creator out there from the backcourt who gets everybody involved in a completely unselfish manner.
I was talking with a scout the other day about kind of this idea of floor spacers and different things. And I eventually kind of worked myself into, you need advantage exploiters, guys that will take advantage or guys that will exploit the advantage that is created on the second side. So KD gets a double team. Somebody has to be waiting on the second side to exploit it, whether it's knock down a shot or make a quick decision. And the conversation we were having is guys that are quick decision makers. Who cares if you can really shoot it, Sam, if you're a second late deciding to shoot it, or if you can really attack the closeout, if you always make the wrong decision on when to attack the closeout. My point here is Tyus can do both in terms of, for his career, He averages less than a turnover per game. He averages assists that are solid. But you know what he shoots from the corner the last 2 seasons? 53% and 48%. He
Yeah.
shot really good from three overall the last few seasons. Like, he's slowly gotten better throughout his career. Again, he's played a lot of games the last 6 or 7 years, which I think is important for this Suns team, that it's not a guy that, oh, like, history says he probably only plays 40 games, Sam. So, like, what are they actually getting here? So I think he just fits really well. And then on top, hey, you know what? This team could really use a guy that just sets the table, right? Like,
Yeah.
let's get into a set, guys. And I don't want KD to have to do it, or Bill to have to do it, or Booker to have to do it. And the other thing is, we don't need to talk about this. They also got another guy that can do this in the second unit in the regular season, not necessarily in the playoffs, in Monty Morris. They signed him before this, a few weeks ago. So they got a couple of these guys now that it can at least set the table, knock down open shots, and never, ever turn the basketball over.
So I'm glad you brought up the shooting. Tyus Jones last season shot 42.7% on catch and shoot threes per synergy. The season before that was 37.2% on catch and shoot threes. In 2021-22, he was 40.1% catch and shoot threes. So right around 40% over the course of the last 3 years on about 600 attempts on catch and shoot threes. That is really important on a team where Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker are all going to have the ball in their hands very often, right? So I love this. I think that this is a home run fit on offense. The defense, I thought Yusuf Nurkic had a great year defensively last year. We will see how long that extends for the regular season. I don't know that they have really changed enough within their roster to where I believe in them in the playoffs more than I do a Denver or a Minnesota or an Oklahoma City. I still think that they are going to struggle to get stops against those teams at too large of a level, because you're probably going to have to slide down to what, like KD, Booker, Beal. I mean, like, who are your other two if you say that you can't play Nurkic all that often in the playoffs, which it seemed like they struggled to? It's probably Grayson and Royce O'Neal still, which is basically what we saw this year. Because the thing with Tyus is, like, if you go back through his track record in the playoffs when he was there in Memphis, it wasn't pretty. It just really, really wasn't all that pretty. He struggled to separate. He's a ball screen guy. Like, you really, defensively there are issues. Teams are willing to attack him on that end. So Tyus is a great regular season addition, but I don't know that they've solved the playoff issue maybe in the way that I think we may have hoped for this offseason.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that wasn't going to come with the Tyus Jones signing anyway, or signing guys to minimum. So I think what they did is they raised the floor of their regular season to where, like, hey,
Totally.
maybe we can finish top 4 if somebody suffers an injury or has a stretch where they don't play well, or we survive some of this stuff. And a top 4 seed isn't nothing, right? You get home court advantage, maybe you get the right matchup in the playoffs, and that helps you win again. Here's what I think comes down to this team actually winning in the playoffs. It comes down to KD and Booker being awesome two-way both ends of the like. KD has to be the best defender on the team, I think, for them to win a playoff series, multiple playoff series. And Booker has to really lock in on that end as well. Because thinking that Yusuf Nurkic is going to do it, or one of these rookies, like we brag about Ryan Dundee's defense all the time. You can't play him in the playoffs anyway right now because he can't do anything offensively. It's not going to be Oso as a rookie. So I think it's KD and Booker who essentially have to raise the ceiling for this team and what they do defensively. But that doesn't mean that this shouldn't be celebrated as a big win for the Suns, getting somebody like this. I just wonder how Grayson Allen feels shooting 40 whatever percent from three last year. And then it's like, hey, go to the bench, bud. Like, you can come in with the second unit this year.
Oh, I think he still starts. Honestly.
So you think Bill's coming off the bench?
Yeah, no. If I'm them, I'm probably just going
KD
Booker
at the
and
5.
Beal. Yeah, maybe not. It is probably Grayson off the bench. You're probably right. I did math poorly there for a second. Yeah.
Can't take 10 days off again. We mess up our
Can't
count.
take 10 days off again, man.
Can't count to 5.
Can't
Um,
count to 5 anymore.
I mean,
Jesus.
no, I mean, but that's the thing, right? Your immediate thought is, "Oh, no, Grayson's staying in this," but you have the big 3, Nurkic, and well, no, the big 3 and Jones sounds like, I'm not messing this up, like, the reports are he went to Phoenix because he was gonna get to start, right? So,
Yeah.
I feel like we're locked in with that. You can't start KD at the 5, in my opinion, like, there's no way you do that. So it's
Yeah.
Bill, if anybody, and I don't think that's gonna happen, at least not in the regular season.
Honestly, like, that might be a fun spot, man. That might work.
No,
Beal is like the 6th man, like, it's kind of an interesting one to me, but they won't do it. Like, there's 0%
I
chance they're
don't
gonna do
hate
it.
the idea, Sam. I don't hate the idea. I just don't think they'll do it. Yeah, I discount. Sorry, Grayson. Grayson Allen shot 46% from 3 last year on 6 attempts.
Grayson was unbelievable, but
How
yeah,
dare
they're
me
gonna
to
bring
say
Grayson off the
43?
bench.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
they're
and
gonna bring Grayson off the bench.
it's an interesting bench unit, right? With Grayson, Royce O'Neal. Again, I brought up Monty Morris, and then if the young guys can play at all, they signed Mason Plumlee. I think this will be a fun team to talk about when we're talking about just regular season stuff, right? Whenever we're just like, hey, who's going to finish where in the regular season in the Western Conference? I think it's a team that enters the equation, and then whenever we get to the playoffs, it's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, just like kind of thinking through that, right? I would probably have them 4th right now if you made me like pick out teams. I would say all of Minnesota, Oklahoma City, Denver ahead of them. And
Dallas.
I think in the regular season I would take Phoenix
Okay.
still. Dallas is probably like 4. It's them in Dallas at 4 or 5 to me for sure. Uh, and then you're looking at New Orleans, you're looking at Memphis. I think maybe Houston gets thrown in, Golden State maybe gets thrown in. The
Yeah. No.
Lakers will be in that mix for sure. Sacramento will be in that mix. This is the reason that this signing is, and this is where we can end it, right? The reason this signing really matters for Phoenix is that 4 through like 10 spot in the West, right? There is potential that there are 3 games of difference, I think. Maybe 4 games of difference between those teams.
Well,
Right?
Sam, there was between 5 and 10 last year. 4 games.
Yes.
Legit. I'm looking at it right now. Dallas at 5, Golden State at 10.
Yes. That's why this signing is important. It gives them more depth. It gives them more ways to get through the dog days of the regular season when things are struggling. The team might not be right. You might be going through some injuries. A couple guys are sitting out one night here or there. That's why this signing is big, because it gives you another body that is like a legitimate, certainly like top 7 rotation player, top 6 rotation player on a team that, oh, by the way, in Phoenix, I think has really had as good of an offseason as you could have hoped for, realistically, given their limitations as a second apron team, where they've brought in more bodies and have signed a number of players now that could help them throughout the course of the regular season.
I agree. For what they could do, I like their unless you were just going to do something crazy, right? Like you were going to move one of the big 3 or something. They bring in Plumlee, Jones, Morris on minimum deals. I liked their draft for where they had draft picks with Ryan Dunn. Also, they bring in Jalen Bridges as a 2-way guy. Like none of those guys are going to be really in the equation this year a whole lot, but I like those moves long term. Like I thought they had a solid. So, they're probably with Milwaukee in terms of who got the best, guys on minimum contracts, because Milwaukee brought in a starter as well, I think, in Gary Trent Jr., Taurean Prince, and a backup point guard in DeLon Wright. So I think we could have that argument, which of those 2 teams brought in the best minimum contracts, but Phoenix is obviously right there between those 2 teams.